to the conclusion that one useless man is called a disgrace, 2 are called a law firm, and 3 or more become a Congress. And by God, I have had it with this Congress. For 10 years, King George and his Parliament have gulled, cullied, and diddled these colonies with their illegal acts. Stamp acts, Townsend acts, Sugar acts, Tea acts. And when we dared stand up like men and fight, they stopped our trade, seized our ships, blockaded our ports, burned our towns, and spilled our blood. And still this Congress refuses to grant any of my proposals on independence, even so much as the courtesy of open debate. Good God, what in hell are they waiting for? Sit down, John. Sit down, John. For God's sake, John. Sit down. Sit down, John. Sit down, John. For God's sake, John. Sit down. Won't you open up a window? It's 90 degrees. Have mercy, John, please. It's hot as hell in Philadelphia. Won't you open up a window? I say vote, yes. Vote, yes. Vote for independence. Won't you open up a window? I say vote, yes. Sit down, John. Vote for independence. Won't you open up a window? No, no, no. Too many flies. Too many flies. But it's hot as hell in Philadelphia. Open up a window. Can't we compromise here? Vote yes. No, too many flies here. Vote yes. Oh, for God's sakes, John, sit down. Good God, consider yourselves fortunate you have John Adams to abuse, for no sane man would tolerate it. John, you're a bore. We've heard this before. Now, for God's sake, John, sit down. I say vote yes. No. Vote yes. No. Vote for independence. Someone ought to open up a window. I say vote yes. Sit down, John. Vote for independence. Will someone shut that man up? Never. Never. Good God, for 1 whole year they have been sitting here, doing nothing. I do believe you played a curse on North America. A curse which we here now rehearse in Philadelphia. A second flood, a simple famine, plagues of locusts everywhere, or a cataclysmic earthquake, I'd accept with some despair. But no, you sent us Congress. Good God, sir, was that fair? I say this with humility. In Philadelphia were your responsibility. In Philadelphia, if you don't want to see us hanging on some far-off British hill, if you don't want the voice of independency forever still, then God, sir, get thee to it, for Congress never will. You see, we piddle, twiddle, and resolve. Now what little thing do we solve? Piddle, twiddle, and resolve. Nothing's ever solved in foul, humid, foggy, filthy Philadelphia. Someone ought to open up the window. Oh, shut up.
I now call Congress's attention to the petition of Mr. Melchior Ming, who claims $20 compensation for his dead mule. It seems the animal was employed transporting luggage in the service of the Congress.
The question then would appear to be one of occasion. For if the mule expired not while carrying, but after having been unloaded, then surely the beast dropped dead on its own time.
Good God! They may sit here for years and years in Philadelphia. These indecisive grenadiers of Philadelphia. They can't agree on what is right or wrong, or what is good or bad. I'm convinced the only purpose this Congress ever had was to gather here specifically to drive John Adams mad. You see, we fiddle, twiddle, and resolve. Not one damn thing will be solved. Fiddle, twiddle, and resolve. Nothing's ever solved in foul, fetid, fuming, foggy, filthy Philadelphia.
John, is that you hearing on? John!
Oh, Abigail, Abigail, I have such a desire to knock heads together.
I know, my dearest, I know. But that's because you always make things so complicated. It's really quite simple. Just tell the Congress to declare independency. Then sign your name, get out of there, and hurry home to me. Our children all have dysentery. Little John keeps turning blue. Little Abby has the measles and are coming down with flu. They say we may get smallpox.
Madam, what else is new? Abigail, in my last letter, I spoke that the king had organized 12,000 German mercenaries to send against us. I asked you to organize the ladies to make saltpeter for gunpowder. Have you done as I asked?
No, John, I have not.
Why have you not?
Because you neglected to tell us how saltpeter is made.
By tritium sodium nitrate of potassium chloride, of course.
Oh, yes, of course.
Will it be done then?
I'm afraid we have a more urgent problem, John.
More urgent, madam.
There's one thing every woman's missed in Massachusetts Bay. Don't smirk at me, you egotist. Pay heed to what I say. We've gone from Framingham to Boston, and we cannot find a pin. Don't you know there is a war on? Say each tradesman with a grin. Well, we will not make saltpeter until you send us pins.
Pins, madam. Saltpeter.
Pins.
Saltpeter.
Pins.
Saltpeter.
Pins.
Saltpeter.
Pins.
Peter.
Pins.
Peter.
Pins.
Peter.
Pins.
Done, madam. Done.
Done, John. Hurry home, John,
Oh, as soon as I am able.
and don't stop writing. It's all I have.
Every day, my dearest friend.
Till then,
Till then, I am as I am, and never shall be. Yours, 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 Saltpeter John.
Pins, Abigail.
For God's sake. Franklin! 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 Where in God's name were you when I needed you?
Right here, John, being preserved for posterity. Do you like it? And the subject's no Venus.
You heard what I suffered in there?
Heard? Of course I heard, John, along with the rest of Philadelphia. Lord, your voice is piercing.
I wish to heaven my arguments were. Damn it, Franklin, when will they make up their mind? With one hand, they can raise an army, dispatch one of their own to lead it, and cheer the news from Bunker's Hill. While with the other, they wave the olive branch, begging the king for a happy and permanent reconciliation. Why, damn, even Fat George has declared us in rebellion. Why in bloody hell can't they?
John Greeley, you talk as if independence were the rule.
You make us sound treasonous.
What? Treason. Treason is a charge invented by the winner as an excuse for hanging the losers.
I have more to do than stand around listening to you quote yourself.
Well, that's a new one.
Damn it, Franklin, we're at war.
Should defend ourselves, nothing more. We expressed our displeasure, the English moved against us, and we in turn have resisted. Now, our fellow congressmen wish to effect reconciliation before it becomes a war.
Reconciliation, my ass. The people want independence.
The people have read Mr. Paine's common sense. Not that very much the Congress has. John, why don't you give it up? Nobody listens to you. You're obnoxious and disliked.
I'm not promoting John Adams. I'm promoting independence.
Evidently, they cannot help connecting the two.
What are you suggesting?
Let someone else in Congress propose.
Never. Who did you have in mind?
Oh, I don't know. I really hadn't given it much thought.
Is it for me, Benjamin?
Never.
Well, hello, Johnny.
Richard.
Richard, John and I need some advice.
It's mine to give. It's yours. You know that.
Thank you, Richard. As you know, the cause we support has come to a complete standstill. Now, why do you suppose that is?
Simple. Johnny here is obnoxious and disliked.
Yes, that's true. What is the solution, I wonder?
Get someone else in Congress to propose.
Oh, Richard, that's brilliant. Wasn't that brilliant, John?
Brilliant.
The question remains, who can it be? The man we need must belong to a delegation publicly committed to independence. At the present time, only Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and Delaware have declared our way.
And Virginia, Benji, don't forget Virginia.
Oh, I haven't pictured how could I. But strictly speaking, while your delegation in Williamsburg has always viewed independence in a well, shall we say, a positive manner, your legislature has never publicly authorized the delegation here in Congress to support the cause. Of course, if we could think of a Virginia with enough influence to go down and persuade the House of Burgesses.
Damn the violent thought of someone.
Oh.
Me.
Why didn't I think of that?
I'll leave tonight. Why, hell, right now, if you like. I'll stop off at Stratford just long enough to refresh the missus. And it's straight to the matter. Virginia, the land that gave us our glorious commander-in-chief. George Washington will now give the continent its proposal on independence. And when Virginia proposes, the South is bound to follow. And where the South goes, the middle colonies go. Gentlemen, a salute to Virginia, the mother of American independence.
Incredible. We're free, and he hasn't even left yet.
What makes you so sure you can do it?
Ah! My name is Richard Henry Lee. Virginia is my home. My name is Richard Henry Lee. Virginia is my home. And may my heart stir blue if I can deliver up to you a resolution on independency. For I am FFB. What's melody in the sovereign colony of Virginia? Yes, the FFB. Goes melody in the oldest colony in America. And in a British land, if I can't deliver to your hand a resolution on independency. You see it clearly, early, and everywhere legally, socially, politically, financially, naturally, internally, externally, fraternally, eternally. The FFB, the first family in the sovereign colony of Virginia. And may my wife refuse my man if I can't deliver, as I said, a resolution on independency.
Spoken modestly, God the most revolting display I have ever witnessed.
Oh, they're a warm-blooded people.
Not him, Franklin, you. You and your infernal deviousness. Had you come right out and asked him straight, he'd been gone half an hour ago.
Oh, cheer up, John. At this very moment, our cause is once again riding high, sitting straight in the saddle and in full gallop for Virginia.
And our women are so
Good God.
full bosom,
Full bosom.
full bosom, Benji. Everyone a queen. Why they are leaves of Virginia. Yes, sir, my God, it's yearly, merrily, everyone goes to merrily. Yearly, merrily, merrily, forward, 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 forward.
Yes?
I'm Dr. Lyman Hall, new delegate from Georgia.
Oh, I'm Andrew McNair, the congressional custodian. Now, if you need anything at all, you just holler out, McNair! And you'll hear the others do, and it won't be too long to wait.
Where does the Georgia delegation live off?
Oh, they mill about over in the corner there, near the two Carolinas.
It's after 10. I was told the Congress convenes at 10.
Oh, they'll be wandering any time now. With old Grape and Guts leading the pack. Old who?
McNair!
Grape and Guts.
Fix me a mug of rum.
Mr. Hopkins, you'll be pleased to meet Dr. Lyman Hall,
I don't need a doctor, damn it.
new delegate from Georgia.
Well, why didn't you say so? Doctor, I'm Stephen Hopkins, old delegate from Rhode Island. 2 mugs of rum,
I fear it's a little early in the day for me.
Why, nonsense. It's a well-known medicinal fact that rum helps get a man's heart started in the morning. That's right, you didn't know that. And speaking as the oldest member of Congress...
Oh, Ben Franklin's older by almost a year.
The rum! Where does Georgia stand on the question of independence?
We're South Carolina, of course.
Oh, good morning, Nettie. Shake the hand of Dr. Lyman Hall from Georgia. Doctor, this here is Edward Rutledge from, whichever Carolina he says he's from. God knows I can't keep him straight.
A pleasure, Dr. Hall.
Your servant, Mr. Rutledge.
Well, you've met the long and the short of it now, Doctor. And Nettie here is only 26. He's the youngest of us.
Except for Ben Franklin, of course.
McNair,
Your rum.
where should go for it, man? Jamaica?
Tell me, where does Georgia stand on independence at the present time, Dr. Hall?
I'm here without instructions, able to vote my own personal convictions.
And they are.
Personal.
But Dr. Hall, the Deep South speaks with one voice. It is traditional. Even more, it is historical.
Into Delaware. Triumphante.
Be playing nothing, you know, can't follow none of your damn French.
That and Colonel McKeon. A tribute to the internal peace of harmony of the Delaware delegation.
What are you talking about, man? You know perfectly well neither Rodney or I can stand this little war.
Gentlemen, this is Dr. Lyman Hall of Georgia. Caesar Rodney, George Reed, and Colonel Thomas McKeon.
Where do you stand on the issue of independence?
Yes, South Carolina.
I leave the doctor in your excellent company, gentlemen.
Tell me, sir, would you be a doctor of medicine or of theology?
We both, Mr. Rodney. Which one can be of service?
The physician first. Then we shall see about the other.
I'll call on you at your convenience. I trust, Caesar, when you are through converting the poor fellow to independency, that you'll give the opposition a fair crack at it.
You're too late, John. Once I get them, they're gone. Dr. Lyman Hall of Georgia, Mr. John Dickinson of Pennsylvania.
An honor, sir.
Your servant, sir.
Forgive me, Judge Wilson, but how can anybody possibly see you if you insist on standing in the shadow of Mr. Dickinson? James Wilson, also of Pennsylvania. Sir.
An honor, sir.
Good morning, all.
Good Lord. Do you have the honor to be Dr. Franklin?
Yes, I have that honor. Unfortunately, the gal that accompanies the honor. You've been living too high again, eh, Pappy? Stephen, I always wish that King George fell with my big toe all over. And now, fetch your pillow and 2 more mugs of rum.
All right, Franklin, where is that idiot Lee? I haven't seen him. Has he returned?
Softly, John, your voice is hurting my foot.
One more day. That's how long I'll remain silent, and not a moment longer. That strumming popinjay was so damn sure of himself. He's had time to bring back 12 proposals by now.
Tell me, James, how do you explain the strange monumental quietude that Congress has been treated to these past 30 days? Has the ill wind of independence finally blown itself out?
Well, if you ask
For
me,
myself, I must confess that a month free from New England noise is more therapeutic than a month in the country. Don't you agree, James?
well,
Mr. Adams, pray look for your voice, sir. It cannot be far, and God knows we need the entertainment in this Congress.
Congratulations, John. You made your greatest contribution to independence. You kept your flap shut.
One more day.
Gentlemen, the usual morning festivities concluded. I will call this Congress to order. Mr. Thompson.
The Second Continental Congress, meeting in the city of Philadelphia, is now in session. 380th meeting.
Sweet Jesus.
7th June 1776, the Honorable John Hancock, Massachusetts Bay, President.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. McNair, the stores of rum and other drinking spirits are hereby closed to the colony of Rhode Island for a period of 3 days.
But Johnny, you can't do that.
Sit down, Mr. Hopkins. You've abused the privilege. The chair would like to take this opportunity to welcome Dr. Lyman Hall of Georgia to this Congress. And hopes he'll make the best of it. My God, it's hot. Secretary will read the roll.
All members present with the following exceptions. Mr. Charles Carroll of Maryland, Mr. Samuel Adams of Massachusetts, Mr. Buck Gwinnett of Georgia, Mr. George Wythe, Mr. Richard Henry Lee of Virginia, and the entire delegation of New Jersey.
I'm concerned over the continued absence of 1/13 of this Congress. Where is New Jersey?
Somewhere between New York and Pennsylvania.
Thank you very much. Have you heard anything, Dr. Franklin? Your son resides there.
Son, sir, what son?
The Royal Governor of New Jersey, sir?
As that title would suggest, we're not in touch at the present time.
Yes, very well. The weather report, Mr. Jefferson of Virginia. Mr. Jefferson,
Present, sir.
may we hear about the weather as if it weren't speaking for itself?
87 degrees of temperature, 30.06 inches of mercury, wind from the southwest for the rest of the day, and tonight I'm leaving for home.
On business?
Family business.
Give her a good one for me, young feller.
Yes, sir, I will.
From the Commander, Army of the United Colonies in New York, dispatch number 1137.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
To the Honorable Congress, John Hancock, President, dear sir. It is with grave apprehension that I have learned this day of the sailing from Halifax, Nova Scotia, of a considerable force of British troops in the company of foreign mercenaries and under the command of General Sir William Howe. There can be no doubt that their destination is New York, for to take and hold this city and the Hudson Valley beyond would serve to separate New England from the other colonies, permitting both sections to be crushed in turn. Sadly, I see no way of stopping it at the present time, as my army is absolutely falling apart. My military chest is totally exhausted. My commissary general has strained his credit to the last. My quartermaster has no food, no arms, no ammunition, and my troops are in a state of near mutiny. I pray God some relief arrives before the Armada, but fear it will not. Your obedient, G. Washington.
Mr. President,
Colonel McKeon.
surely we've managed to appoint the gloomiest man on this continent to the command of our troops, and those dispatches are the most disastrous accumulations of depression and despair and gloom in the entire annals of military. And furthermore,
Colonel McKeon, please.
what?
It's too hot.
Oh, I suppose so.
General Washington will continue wording his dispatches as he sees fit. I'm sure we all pray he finds happier thoughts to convey in the near future. Mr. Thompson, are there any resolutions?
Dr. Josiah Bartlett, New Hampshire.
Resolved that for the duration of the present hostilities, the Congress discourage every type of extravagance and dissipation, elaborate funerals and other expensive diversions, especially all horse racing.
Angie, I'm back!
Richard,
I'm back! Is it done? First things first, son. Tom,
Where's him?
Tom! Your little bride wants to know.
What?
When's he coming home?
I leave tonight.
Never mind that. Is it done? Done? Why, certainly! Mr. President, I have returned from Virginia with the following resolution. Resolved that these united colonies are, and their right ought to be, free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is, and ought to be, totally resolved.
Mr. President, I second the resolution. Resolution's been made and seconded. The chair will now entertain debate.
Mr. President, Pennsylvania moves, as always, that the question of independence be postponed indefinitely.
I second the motion.
Alton, in your eagerness to be loved, you seem to have forgotten that Pennsylvania cannot second its own motion.
Delaware seconds.
You would, you little weasel.
Motion postpone's been made and seconded. Mr. Thompson.
On the motion to postpone indefinitely, debate on the resolution for independence. All those in favor of debate, say yea. All those for postponement, say nay. New Hampshire.
New Hampshire favors debate, says yea.
New Hampshire says yea. Massachusetts.
Massachusetts, having borne the brunt of the king's tyranny, the tyranny, now and for all time, says yea.
We'll come back to it, Mr. Thomas.
Rhode Island passes. Connecticut.
While Connecticut has until now been against this proposal, our legislature has informed me that in order to consider this proposal, it's brought up by any colony outside New England, such as Virginia, Connecticut can no longer withhold its support. Connecticut says yay.
Connecticut says yay. New York.
Mr. Secretary, New York abstains courteously.
New York abstains.
But courteously.
New Jersey.
No, absent, Mr.
Oh,
Secretary.
yes, New Jersey is absent. Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania for the 24th time says nay.
Pennsylvania says nay. Delaware.
Delaware, as ever, for independence, says yea.
Delaware says yay. Maryland.
Maryland would welcome independence if it were given, but is highly skeptical it can be taken. Maryland says nay.
Maryland says nay. Virginia.
Virginia, the first colony, says yay.
Virginia says yay. North Carolina.
North Carolina respectfully yields to South Carolina.
South Carolina.
Mr. President, although we in South Carolina have never seriously considered the question of independence, when a gentleman proposes it, attention must be paid. However, we in the Deep South, unlike our friends in New England, have no cause for impatience at the present time. If at some future date it becomes the wish of all our sister colonies to effect a separation, we will not stand in the way. But for the time being, South Carolina will wait and watch. The vote is nay.
South Carolina says nay.
North Carolina.
Says nay, yes, we know, Mr. Hughes. Georgia. Georgia.
Mr. Secretary, Georgia seems to be split right down the middle on this issue. The people are against it, and I'm for it. I'm not yet certain whether representing the people means relying on their judgment or on my own. So in all fairness, until I can figure it out, I'd better lean a little toward their side. Georgia says nay.
Georgia says nay. Rhode Island, second call. Rhode Island.
I'm coming, hold your damn arms and you. Well, it won't kill you. You'd think the Congress could have its own business.
Well, where does she stand? Georgia State filed for postponement. One absent, one abstention.
So it's up to me, is it? Well, I'll tell you, in all my years, I never seen, heard, or smelled an issue that was too dangerous to talk about. Hell yes, I'm for debating anything. Rhode Island says yay.
But you said a whole damn barrel if he wanted. Gentlemen, the chair now declares this Congress a committee of the whole for the purpose of debating Virginia's resolution on independence. Mr. Dickinson.
Well, now, you've got your way at last, Mr. Adams. The matter may now be discussed. I confess I'm almost relieved. There's a question I've been fairly itching to ask you. Why?
Why what, Mr. Dickinson?
Why independence, Mr. Adams?
For the obvious reason that continued association with Great Britain has grown intolerable.
To whom, Mr. Adams? To you. Then I suggest you sever your ties immediately. But please be kind enough to leave the rest of us where we are. Personally, I have no objections at all to being part of the greatest empire on earth, to enjoying its protection and sharing in its benefits.
Benefits? What benefits? Cruel taxes, cruel repressions, abolished rights.
Is that all England means to you, sir? Is that all the affection and pride you can muster for the nation that bore you, for the noblest, most civilized nation on the face of this planet? Would you have us forsake Hastings and Magna Carta, Strongbow and Lionheart, and Drake and Marlborough, Tudors, Stuarts, and Plantagenets? For what, sir? Tell me for what? For you? Some men are patriots like General Washington, and some are anarchists like Mr. Paine, and some even are internationalists
assure you, I prefer I remain asleep.
What's so terrible about being called an Englishman? The English don't seem to mind.
Nor would I, were I given the full rights of an Englishman. To be called one without being given those rights is like calling an ox a bull. He's thankful for the honor, but he'd much rather have restored what is rightfully his.
When did you first notice they were missing, sir? Fortunately, Dr. Franklin, the people of these colonies maintain a higher regard for their mother country.
Oh, higher certainly than she holds for them. Never has such a valuable possession been so stupidly and recklessly managed in this entire continent by the British Crown. Industry discouraged, our resources pillaged, and worst of all, our very character stifled. We've spawned a new race here, rougher, simpler, more enterprising, more violent, less refined. We're a new nationality, Mr. Dickinson. We require a new nation.
That may be your opinion, Dr. Franklin, but as I said, the people feel quite differently.
What do you know about the people, Dickinson? You don't represent the people. You speak only for yourself. And that precious status quo you keep imploring the people to preserve for their own good is nothing more than the eternal preservation of your own profit.
Mr. Adams, you have an annoying talent for making such delightful words as property sound quite distasteful. In heaven's name, what's wrong with property? Perhaps you've forgotten that many of us first came to these shores in order to secure the rights of property, and we hold those rights no less dear than the rights you speak of.
So safe, so fat, so comfortable in Pennsylvania.
And what is this independence of yours except the private grievance of Massachusetts? Why is it always Boston that breaks the king's peace? My dear Congress, you must not adopt this evil measure. It is the work of the devil. Leave it where it belongs, in New England.
Brother Dickinson, New England has been fighting the devil for more than 100 years.
And as of now, Brother Sherman, the devil has been winning hands down. Why, at this very moment, he's sitting here in this Congress. Don't let him deceive you. This proposal is entirely his doing.
Now, just a minute.
It may bear Virginia's name, but it reeks of Adams, Adams, and more Adams. Look at him, ready to lead this continent down the fiery path of total destruction.
Can't you acknowledge what already exists? It's been over a year since Lexington and Concord. Damn it, we're at war now.
You may be at war, you, Boston and John Adams, but you will never speak for Pennsylvania.
Nor for Delaware.
Mr. Reed, you represent only 1/3 of Delaware.
The sensible third, Mr. Rodney.
Sit down, you little roach, before I knock you.
Now sit down, all three of you. McNair, do something about these damn flies.
McNair, fetch me a
Get
rope.
the flies first.
Rum.
Oh, I've only got 2 hands. Christ, it's hot.
Gentlemen, please, go on. You're making the only breeze in Philadelphia.
Mr. Adams, perhaps you can clear something up for me. After we've achieved independence, who do you propose will govern in South Carolina?
The people, of course.
Which people, sir? The people of South Carolina or the people of Massachusetts?
Why don't you admit it, Nitty? You're against independence now, and you always will be.
You refuse to understand this, gentlemen. We desire independence, yes, for South Carolina. That is our country. And as such, we don't wish it to belong to anyone. Not to England, and not to you.
We intend to be one nation, Rutledge.
A nation of sovereign states, Mr. Adams. United for our mutual protection, and separate for our individual pursuits. That is what we've understood it to be, and that is what we will support, as soon as everyone supports it.
There you are, Mr. Adams. You must see. We need time to make certain who we are and where we stand in regards to each other. For if we do not determine the nature of the beast before we set it free, it will end by consuming us all.
For once in your life, Wilson, take a chance. I say the time is now. It may never come again.
Your clock is fast, Mr. Adams. I say we're not yet ripe for it.
Not yet right. Good God, we're rotting for the want of it.
Gentlemen, please. What in God's name is the infernal hurry? Why must this question be settled now?
What's wrong with it now, Mr. Chase?
General Washington is in the field. If he is defeated, as it now appears, we'll be inviting the hangman. But if by some miracle he shall actually win, we can then declare anything we damn please.
The sentiments of North Carolina, precisely.
Had it occurred to either of you that an army needs something to fight for in order to win, a purpose, a cause, a flag of its own?
Mr. Adams, how can a nation of 2 million souls stand up to an empire of 10 million? Think of it, 10 million! How do we compensate for that shortage?
Simple, Mr. Chase. Increase and multiply.
We will more than compensate with spirit. I tell you, there's a spirit out there among the people that is sadly lacking in this Congress.
Yes, of course. Now it's spirit. Why didn't I think of that? No army, no navy, no arms, no ammunition, no treasury, no friends, but bless our soul, spirit. Mr. Lee, Mr. Hopkins, Mr. Rodney, Colonel McKeon, Dr. Franklin, why have you joined this incendiary little man, this Boston radical, this demagogue, this agitator, this madman?
What you call him a madman? You fribble. John. You and your Pennsylvania proprietors, you cool, considerate men, you keep to the rear of every issue. In case we go under, you'll remain afloat.
Are you calling me a coward?
Yes, coward.
Madman?
Landlord.
Lawyer?
Stop it. I see the enemy's out there.
No, Mr. Rodney, the enemy is here.
No, I say he's out there. England! England! He's closing in. He's cutting off our air. There's no time. Nowhere. Thomas!
Caesar! Caesar! Dr. Hall. Aye.
This the cancer. He should go home.
Yes. A man should die in his own way.
I'll take you home, Caesar.
John,
I'm here, Caesar.
I leave you a divided Delaware. Forgive me.
I'll be back within a week.
Mr. President, South Carolina calls for question.
What's that, Mr. Rutledge?
I said, Mr. President, South Carolina desires to end the debate and call the question of independence.
Please, the question has been called and seconded. Secretary will record the vote.
For God's sake, Franklin, do something. Think.
I am thinking. Nothing's coming. On the resolution of independence, as proposed by the colony.
Mr. Secretary, would you read the resolution again?
Oh,
I've forgotten. Resolved that these united colonies are and of the right ought to be free and independent.
I beg your pardon. I am the Reverend John Witherspoon, new delegate from New Jersey. Dr. Franklin, I regret I must be the bearer of unhappy tidings, but your son, the Royal Governor of New Jersey, is taken prisoner and has been escorted under heavy guard to the colony of Connecticut for safekeeping.
Is he unharmed, sir?
When last I heard, he was, yes, sir.
You might have the wrong place. I understand Connecticut's an excellent location. Tell me, why'd they arrest the little bastard?
Our New Jersey legislature has recalled the old delegation to this convention and has sent a new one in its place.
Quickly, man, how do you stand on independence?
Oh, haven't I made that clear?
No!
Well, I suppose I have. Well, that's the reason for the change. We've been instructed to vote for independence.
Mr. President, Massachusetts is now ready for the vote on independence and reminds the chair of its privilege to decide all votes that are deadlocked.
I won't forget, Mr. Adams. The chair would like to welcome Reverend Witherspoon and appoint him congressional chaplain if he will accept the post.
Oh, with much pleasure.
Very well. Mr. Thompson, you may now proceed with the vote on independence.
On the motion for independence, as proposed by the colony of Virginia, all those in...
Mr. President, Pennsylvania moves that any vote in favor of independence must be unanimous.
What's the motion? James Wilson!
Oh, my God.
No votes ever had to be unanimous, Dickinson, and you know it.
Yes, but this one must be.
On what grounds?
That no colony be torn from its mother country without its own consent.
But it'll
by saying yea.
Yay.
6 votes yea. All those opposed, nay.
Nay.
6 votes nay.
Mr. Secretary, New York abstains.
Why does New York constantly abstain? Why doesn't New York simply stay in New York?
Oh, very well. It's time. The principles of independence have no greater advocate in this Congress than its president. And that is why I must join those who vote for unanimity.
What are you doing? You're now hear me out. Don't you see that any colony that opposes independence would be forced to fight on the side of England? We'd be setting brother against brother. Our new nation would carry as its emblem the mark of Cain. I can see no other way. Either we walk together, or together we stay right where we are.
Oh.
Very well, Mr. Thompson. Proceed.
The unanimous vote being required in order to carry, if any be opposed to the resolution of independence as proposed by the colony of Virginia.
Mr. President,
For heaven's sake, let me get through it once.
I move for a postponement.
Postponement, ha! I wish you the same luck I had with
Oh,
it.
no. Mr. Adams is right. We need a postponement.
On what grounds?
On what grounds?
Well, the Congress can hardly vote on a thing like independence without some sort of declaration defining it.
What sort of declaration?
A paper that would set forth the reasons for the separation, the goals and aims, and so on and so forth.
Ditto and ditto.
But we know what those are, don't we? Well, of course we know. But what about the rest of the world? We may require the aid of some powerful nation like France or Spain. And such a declaration would be consistent with European delicacy.
Oh, come now, Mr. Adams, you'll have to do better than that. Answer straight. What would be its purpose?
To place before mankind the common sense of the subject, in terms so plain and firm as to command their assent.
Mr. Jefferson, are you seriously suggesting that we publish a paper declaring to all the world that an illegal rebellion is, in reality, a legal one?
Mr. Dickinson, you should know that every rebellion is legal in the first person, such as our rebellion. In the third person, their rebellion is illegal. Mr. President, I second the motion for postponement on independence for a period of time sufficient for the writing of a declaration.
Motion to postpone has been made and seconded. Mr. Thompson.
All those in favor of postponement signify by saying yea.
Yay.
6 votes yea. All those opposed, nay.
Nay.
6 votes nay.
Mr. Secretary, New York abstains.
Mr. Morris, what in hell goes on in New York?
I'm sorry, Mr. President, but the simple fact is that our legislature has never given us instructions on anything.
Never! That's impossible.
Have you ever attended a session of the New York legislature? They speak very fast. They speak very loud. Nobody listens to anybody else. As a result, nothing ever gets done. I beg the council's pardon.
You have my sympathies, Mr. Morris. The vote again being tied, the chair decides in favor of postponement. So rolled. Committee will now be formed to manage the declaration. Said document to be written, debated, and approved by the beginning of July, 3 weeks hence, at which time Virginia's resolution on independence will finally be voted. Is that clear? Will the following gentlemen serve on the Declaration Committee? Dr. Franklin, Mr. John Adams, Mr. Sherman, Mr. Livingston, and of course, Mr. Lee.
Oh, excuse me, Mr. President, but I must be returning to the sovereign country of Virginia as I have been asked to serve as governor. So therefore I must decline. Respectfully.
Very well, Mr. Lee, you're excused. I suppose we can leave it a four-man committee.
Oh, Mr. President, I think this business needs a Virginian. Therefore, I propose a replacement. Mr. Thomas Jefferson.
No, Mr. Adams, no.
Mr. Jefferson will serve.
I'm going home too, to my wife.
I'll move to adjourn.
Wait.
And second.
I'm not seeing these
Moved
past
and
6
seconded.
months.
Any
I have
objections?
objections, lots of them.
All right, gentlemen, let's get on with it. Which one of us is going to write our declaration on in Mr.
Adams, I say you should write it. To your legal mind and brilliance we defer.
Is that so? Well, if I'm the one to do it, they'll run their quill pens through it. I'm obnoxious and disliked. You know that, sir.
Yes, I know.
So I say you should write it, Frank. Yes, you.
Hell no.
Yes, you, Dr. Franklin. You.
Mr. Adams, but Mr. Adams, the things I write are only like extemporaneous. I won't put politics on paper, it's a mania. So I refuse to use the pen in Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania, refuse to use the pen.
Mr. Sherman, I say you should write it. You are never controversial, as it were.
That is true.
Whereas if I'm the one to do it, they'll run their quill pens through it. I'm obnoxious and disliked. You know that, sir.
Yes, I do.
So I say you should write it, Roger. Yes, you.
Good heavens, no.
Yes, you, Roger Sherman.
Mr. Adams, but Mr. Adams, I cannot write with any style or proper etiquette. I don't know what is simple from a predicate. I am just a simple cobbler from Connecticut. Connecticut, a simple cobbler.
Mr. Livingston, maybe you should write it. You have many friends and you're a diplomat.
Oh, that word.
Whereas if I'm the one to do it, they'll run their quill pens through it.
He's obnoxious and disliked. Did you know that?
I hadn't heard.
So I say you should write it, Robert. Yes, you.
Not me, Johnny.
Yes, you, Robert Livingston.
Mr. Adams, dear Mr. Adams, I've been resisting with the son by the noble sort, and so I'm going home to celebrate and top the court with all the Livingstons together back in old New York. New York, New York, Livingston's going to pop a cork.
Mr. Adams, leave me alone!
Mr. Jefferson.
Mr. Adams, I beg of you, I have not seen my wife these 6
And we
months.
solemnly declare we will preserve our liberties, being of one mind, resolved to die free men rather than live slaves. Thomas Jefferson on the necessity of taking up arms, 1775. Magnificent! You write 10 times better than any man in Congress, including me. For a man of only 33, you possess a happy talent for composition and a remarkable felicity of expression. Now, will you be a patriot or a lover?
A lover.
No!
But I burn, Mr. A.
So do I, Mr. J.
You?
You do? John?
Who'd have thought it?
Mr. Jefferson, dear Mr. Jefferson, I'm only 41, I still have my virility, and I can romp through Cupid's grove with great agility. But life is more than sexual combustibility.
Combustibility,
Quiet! You'll write it, Mr. J.
Who will make me, Mr. A?
I.
You?
Yes. How? By physical force, if necessary. It's your duty, damn it, your duty.
Mr. Adams. Damn you, Mr. Adams. You're obnoxious and disliked. That cannot be denied. Once again you stand between me and my lovely bride. Oh, Mr. Adams, you are driving me to homicide. Homicide.
Quiet! The choice is yours, Mr. Jefferson. Do as you like with it.
We may see murder yet.
Damn the man. God damn the man.
Well, Jefferson, are you finished yet, man? You've had a whole week. Is it done? Can I see it? There comes a time in the lives of men when it becomes necessary to advance from that state of subordination where they have hitherto remained. This is terrible. Where's the rest of it? You mean to say it's not finished?
No, sir. I mean to say that it's not yet begun.
Good God, a whole week. The entire earth was created in a week.
Someday you must tell me how you did it.
Disgusting. Franklin, look at him. Virginia's famous lover.
Virginia abstains.
Cheer up, Jefferson. Get out of the dumps. I promise everything will come out right. Now get back to work. Franklin, tell him to get to work.
He's asleep.
You? Hello. And whose little girl are you? John, who is she?
Wife, I hope.
What makes you think so?
I sent for her.
What?
Well, it simply occurred to me that the quicker his problem was solved, the quicker our problem was solved.
Good thinking, John. Good thinking.
Madam, may I present myself? Adams. John Adams. And introduce me to your wife? She is your wife, isn't she?
Well, of course she is. Look how they fit. Come along, John.
What do you mean, come along? There's work to be done.
Obviously.
You don't mean they're going to... Not in the middle of the afternoon.
Well, not everyone's from Boston, John.
Incredible. Oh, have you eaten yet, Frank?
No,
I understand the turkey's fresh and the bunch of grapes.
I haven't told you, Lou. I'd ask you to come along, but talking makes her nervous.
Incredible. Oh, Abigail, I'm very lonely, Abigail.
Are you, John? Then as long as you were sending for wives, why didn't you send for your own?
Don't be unreasonable, Abigail.
Oh, now I'm unreasonable. You must add that to your list.
List?
The catalog of my faults you included in your last letter.
They were fondly intended, madam.
That I play cards badly.
A compliment.
That my posture is crooked.
An endearment.
That I read, write, and think too much.
An irony.
That I'm pigeon-toed.
Well, there you have me, Abby. I'm afraid you are pigeon-toed. Come to Philadelphia, Abigail. Please come.
Thank you, John. I do want to, but it's not possible now. The children have the measles.
Yes, so you wrote. Tom and little Abby.
Only now it's Charles and Quincy. I'm afraid the farm here in Braintree is failing, John. Chickens and the geese have all died, and the apples never survived the late frost. How do you suppose she managed to get away?
Winters are softer in Virginia.
And their women, John.
Fit for Virginians, madam. But pale, puny things beside New England girls.
Thank you, John.
How goes it with you, Abigail?
Not well, John. Not at all well. I live like a nun in a cloister, solitary, celibate. I hate it. And you, John?
I live like a monk in an abbey. Ditto, ditto. I hate it.
Try to me with sentimental illusion. Let me revel in romantic illusion.
Do you still smell of vanilla and spring air? And is my favorite lover's pillow still firm and fair?
What was there, John, still is there, John. Come soon as you can to my cloister. I've forgotten the feel of your hand.
Soon, madam, we shall walk in Cupid's grove together, and we'll fondly say that promised land. Till then, I am as I ever was and ever shall be. Yours, 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 yours.
Saltpeter, John.
Sorry to be late, but I was up till all hours. Have you been here long?
Oh, not long.
What are you doing down here? I thought you'd be up there cracking a whip.
The door is still closed up there. Franklin, spare me your bawdy mind first thing in the morning. Dare we call?
Congressman dares anything. Go ahead.
Me?
Well, your voice is more piercing.
Well, maybe you ought to come back later.
What?
Well, it's indecent.
John, they're young, they're in
Oh,
love.
not them, Franklin, us. Standing here in the middle of the street waiting for them to, what will people say?
Don't worry, John. The history books will clean it up.
It doesn't matter. I won't appear there anyway. Only you. Franklin did this. Franklin did that. Franklin did some other damn thing. Franklin smote the earth, and out sprang George Washington, full grown and on his horse. Then Franklin electrified them with his miraculous lightning rod, and the three of them, Franklin, Washington, and the horse, conducted the entire revolution all by themselves.
I like it. Oh. Look at her, John. Just look at her.
I am.
Well, she's even more magnificent than I remember. Of course, we didn't see much of her front the other night. Good morrow, madam.
Good morrow.
Is it the habit in Philadelphia for strangers to shout at ladies from the streets?
Oh, well, not at all, but we're not...
And for men of your age, it is not only unsightly, it's unseemly.
Oh, excuse me, madam, but we met last evening.
I spoke to no one last evening.
Indeed, you did not, but nevertheless, we presented ourselves. This is Mr. John Adams, and I'm Dr. Franklin, the inventor of the stove.
Oh, please, I know your names very well, but you say you presented yourselves?
It's of no matter. Your thoughts were well taken elsewhere.
My husband is not with
Perhaps we should start over. Won't you join us, madam?
me. Yes, of course.
No wonder the man couldn't ride the thing of independence married to her.
I beg you to forgive me. It is indeed an honor meeting the two greatest men in America.
Certainly the greatest within earshot, anyway.
I am not an idle flatterer, Dr. Franklin. My husband admires you both greatly.
We are doubly honored because we admire very much what your husband admires.
Did you sleep well, madam? Did you lie comfortably? Damn it, you know what I mean.
Yes, John, we do. Tell us something about yourself, madam. We've had precious little information. What is your first name?
Martha.
Martha. You might at least have told us that. I'm afraid your husband doesn't say very much.
He's the most silent man in Congress. I've never known him to utter more than 3 sentences together.
So not everyone's a talker, John.
It is true, you know. Tom is not a talker. Oh, he never speaks his passions. He never speaks his views. Whereas other men speak volumes, the man I loved is mute. In truth, I can't recall being wooed with words at all. Even now.
Go on, madam, go on.
How did he win you, Martha? How does he hold on to a bounty such as you?
Well, surely you know that Tom is a man of many accomplishments. Author, lawyer, font, statesman, architect, and still one more that I hesitate to mention.
Don't hesitate, madam, don't hesitate.
Yes, what else can that red-headed tombstone do?
He plays the violin. He tucks it right under his chin. And he bows, oh he bows, for he knows, yes he knows, that it's high, high, high to my heart. Tom and his fiddle, my strings are unstrung.
What does Tom do now?
Why, just what you expect. We dance.
Dance. Incredible.
One, one.
Who's playing the violin?
John Ringley.
John, you can dance. We do other things in Boston too, Franklin.
When heaven calls to me, sing that elegy. Say I die, loving bride, loving wife, loving life. For it was high, 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 and ever 'twill be.
High, 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 high.
Through eternity,
Oh, look, Franklin. He's written something. He's done it.
Dear Mr. Adams, I am taking my wife back to bed. Kindly go away. T. Jefferson. Incredible.
Maybe I should have read the Declaration. My age, there's no doubt that the pen is mightier than the sword. For it's high, 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 diddle, diddle, and God bless the man who can fiddle, and Independence Day. High, 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 yada-da-da-da. Plays the violin, violin, violin.
And what follows is a complete and up-to-date list of the committees of this Congress about to sit, just having sat. A committee formed to investigate a complaint made against the quality of yeast manufactured by Mr. Henry Benton Mill, designated as the Yeast Committee. A committee formed to consider the most effective method of dealing with spies, designated as the Spies Committee. A committee formed to think, perhaps to do, but in many cases to gather, to meet, to confer, to talk, and perhaps even to resolve that each rifle regiment be allowed at least one drum and one fife attached to each company, designated as the Drum and Fife Committee.
Look at it, Dr. Hall, democracy. What Plato called a charming form of government, full of variety and disorder. I never knew Plato had been to Philadelphia.
McNair, open that damn window.
Ben, I want to show you some cards that Donnan had printed. I thought ought to save us a lot of time in view of the epidemic of bad disposition going around here lately. Dear sir, you are without any doubt a rogue, a rascal, a villain, a thief, a scoundrel, and a mean, dirty, stinking, sniveling, sneaking, pimping, pocking, picking, fried, double damn, no good son of a bitch. You sign it right here.
Stephen, I'll take a dozen right there. Committee forms blanks for all congressional correspondence, designated as the Correspondence Committee.
All right, Franklin, enough socializing. Time to get to work.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Oh, good morning, good morning. Let's get on with it.
Let's get to what?
Unanimity, of course. Look at that board. 6 nay votes to win over a little more than a week.
Committee formed to consider the problem of counterfeit money, designated as the Counterfeit Money Committee. Okay, John, where do we start?
I suggest Delaware. It's a sad thing to see her on the wrong side of the fence after so long a time. Oh, any word on Caesar Rodney?
McKeon's back.
Oh, Thomas.
A committee formed to study the causes of our military defeat in Canada, designated as the Military Defeat Committee.
How did you leave Caesar? Is he still alive?
Aye, but the journey to Dover was fearful harder. He never complained, but I could tell the poor man was suffering.
But you got him safely home.
I did, but I doubt he'll ever set foot out of it again.
That leaves you and Reed split down the middle. Will he come over, do you think?
I don't know. He's a stubborn little snot.
Work on him. Wear him down.
John, face facts, will you? If it were just Reed standing in our way, it wouldn't have been so bad. But look for yourself, man. Pennsylvania, Maryland, the entire South, it's impossible.
Well, of course it's impossible if we stand around complaining. To work, McKeon. One foot in front of the other.
Oh, I believe I put it a better way. Never leave off till tomorrow.
Oh, shut up, Franklin.
John, what good will it do? You know Dickinson, he'll never give in. And you have not heard the last from Rutledge in the South yet either.
Don't worry about them. Your job is George Reed. Talk him deaf if you have to, but bring us Delaware.
There is a simpler way. This'll break the tie.
Okay, John, who's next? The committee formed to keep secrets, designated the Secrets Committee.
Well, there's Pennsylvania and Maryland. I suggest you try to get your own house in order. I'll take a crack at old Bacon Face. Well, Mr. Chase, when are you coming to your senses, Chase?
Me, Mr. Adams? Not while I'm eating.
Mr. Wilson, it's time to assert yourself. When you were a judge, how in the hell did you ever make a decision?
Well, my decisions were based on legality and precedent. There is no legality here, and certainly no precedent.
Because it's a new idea, you clot. We'll be setting our own precedent.
No, Mr. McKeon, no, no, no.
Down your eyes, Reed. You came into this world screaming no, and you're determined to go out of it the same way.
Congress is waiting on you, Chase. America is waiting. The whole world is waiting. What is that? Some hidden...
You leave me alone, Mr. Adams. You're wasting your time. If I thought we could actually win this war, I'd be at the front of your ranks. You must know it's impossible. You've heard the dispatches from General Washington. His army is falling apart.
General Washington is exaggerating the situation in order to rouse this torpid Congress into action. But I can tell you, as chairman of the War Committee, that the troops have never been in better shape. Never have soldiers been more resolute. Never have... Oh, good God.
Gentlemen, may we have your ears? Mr. Thompson has dispatch. Commander, Army of the United Colonies in New York. Dispatch number 1157. To the Honorable Congress, John Hancock, President, dear sir. It is with the utmost despair that I must report to you the confusion and disorders that reign in every department.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
The continental soldier is as nothing ever seen in this or any other century. He is a misfit, ignorant of hygiene, destructive, disorderly, and totally disrespectful of rank. Only this last is understandable,
as there is an incredible rate of stupidity amongst the officers. The situation is most desperate at the New Jersey training ground in New Brunswick, where every able-bodied corps in the colonies has assembled. There are constant reports of drunkenness, desertion, foul language, naked bathing in the Rat River, and an epidemic of the French disease. I have declared the town off limits to all military personnel, with the exception of officers. I beseech the Congress to dispatch the War Committee to this place in the hope of restoring some of the order and discipline we need to survive. Your obedient, A. Washington.
The man who depressed the hyenas.
Well, Mr. Adams, you're chairman of the War Committee. Do you feel up to whoring, drinking, deserting, and New Brunswick?
There must be some mistake. I have an aunt who lives in New Brunswick. You must tell her to keep up the good work. Now, Mr. Adams, you must see that it's hopeless. Let us recall General Washington and disband the Continental Army before we are overwhelmed.
Oh, the English would like that.
Why not ask them yourself? They ought to be here any minute.
And when they hang you, Mr. Adams, I hope you put in a good word for the rest of us.
Face back, Mr. Adams. A handful of drunk and disorderly recruits against the entire British Army, the finest musketmen on earth. How can we win? How can we even hope to survive?
Answer me straight, Chase. If you thought we could beat the Redcoats, would Maryland vote yea on independence?
Well, I suppose.
No suppose about it. Would you or would you?
Very well. Yes, we would.
Then come with me to New Brunswick and see for yourself.
John, are you mad?
You heard what Washington said. It's a shambles up there.
They're pushing you into it, Johnny.
What do you say, Mr. Chase?
Hey, go ahead, Sam. It sounds lively as hell up there. All right, why not? And maybe it'll be John Adams that'll come to his senses.
Mr. President, the War Committee will heed General Washington's request. A party consisting of Mr. Chase, Dr. Franklin, and myself will leave immediately.
Is that satisfactory with you, Dr. Franklin?
Wake up, Franklin. You're going to New Brunswick.
Well, like hell I am. What for?
The whore that you're drinking. Move on that
Mr. McNair, all this talk of independence has left a certain foulness in the air. My friends and I would appreciate it if you could open some windows.
But what about the flies?
Windows, Mr. McNair?
Open the windows. Close the windows. Sweet Jesus.
Commander, Army of the United Colonies in New York. I awoke this morning to find that General Howe has landed 25,000 British regulars and Hessian mercenaries on Staten Island, and that the fleet, under the command of his brother, Admiral Lord Howe, controls not only the Hudson and East Rivers, but New York Harbor, which now looks like all of London afloat. I can no longer in good conscience withhold from the Congress my certainty that the British military object at this time is Philadelphia. Happy should I be if I could see the means of preventing them, but at present I confess I do not. Oh, how I wish I had never seen the Continental Army. I would have done better to retire to the back country and live in a wigwam. Your obedient, T. Washington.
What we do rationally. We never go off half-cocked, not we. Why begin till we know that we can win? And if we cannot win, why bother to begin? We say this game's not of our choosing. Why should we risk losing? We're cool men. Mr. Hancock, you're a man of property, one of us. Why don't you join us in our minuet? Why do you persist in dancing with Mr. Adams? Good Lord, sir, you don't even like him.
That is true. He annoys me quite a lot, but still I'd rather drop to Mr. Adams than to rock.
But why, sir? For personal glory, for a place in history? Be careful, sir. History will brand Mr. Adams and his followers as traitors.
Traitors, Mr. Dickinson? To what? The British crown or the British half-crown? Fortunately, there are not enough men of property in America to dictate policy.
Perhaps not. But don't forget that most men with nothing would rather protect the possibility of becoming rich than face the reality of being poor. And that is why they will follow us. To the right, ever to the right, never to the left, forever to the right. Where there's gold, a market will hold, tradition that is old, we want it to be told. Sing in a safe and lucid manner. We are cool. We're the cool, considering men whose life may never ever be seen again. With our plan, cash in hand, self-command, future plan, and we'll hold to our own tradition that is old. We like to be bold. We say this game's not of our choosing. Why should we risk losing? We
Jesus. How'd you like to try and borrow a dollar from one of them? Want another rum, General?
General, boy, I ain't even a corporal.
Yeah, well, what's the Army know? Sit down, gentlemen. chair rule. We're too damn hot to work. So tell me, General, what's it like out there?
You probably know more than me.
Sitting around here? Sweet Jesus. This is the last place to find out what's going on.
I'm aiming to join up.
What are you talking about? You don't have to join up. You're in the Congress now.
What's that got to do with it?
Now, you don't see them running off and get killed now, do you? They sure are fine ones for sending other folks, I'll tell you that.
Who sits here?
Why, that's, Caesar Rodney from Delaware. Where are you from, General?
What town?
Where's that?
Massachusetts.
Oh, you belong down there. Be careful. There's something about that chair makes a man awful noisy.
You seen any fighting?
Sure did. See my two best friends get shot dead. Right on the very same day. Right on the village green it was too. And when they didn't come home for supper, their mamas went out looking for them. Miss Lowell, she found Timothy right off. Miss Pickett, she looked nearly half a knot for William. He done and crawled off the creek before he died.
the Declaration Committee. Mr. Thompson.
A declaration by the representatives of the United States of America in General Congress Assembly. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights.
Jefferson, we're back, and we have Maryland, or at least we will as soon as Chase finishes telling the Maryland Assembly what we saw in New Brunswick.
He's in Annapolis right now describing a ragtag collection of provincial militiamen who couldn't train together, drill together, or march together, but when a flock of ducks flew by, and they saw their first meal in 3 full days, sweet Jesus, could they shoot together? It was a slaughter.
They're reading the Declaration.
How far have they got?
To render the military independent of and superior to the civil power.
Independent of and superior to the civil power.
Well, there's nothing to worry about. It's a masterpiece, and I'm to be congratulated. You? Yes, for making him write it.
Oh, yes, of course.
It's a masterpiece, I say. They will cheer every word, every letter.
I wish I felt that way.
I believe I can put it better. Now then attend, as friend to friend, our Declaration Committee. For us I see immortality in Philadelphia City. A farmer, a lawyer, and a sage, counting in the leg. You know it's quite bizarre to think that here we are, playing midwives to an egg.
Egg? What egg?
America, the birth of a nation.
If only we could be sure of what kind of bird it was going to be.
Tom's got a point. What sort of bird should we choose as a symbol of our new America?
The eagle.
The dove.
The turkey.
The eagle.
Dove.
The eagle.
The eagle.
The turkey.
The eagle is a majestic bird.
The eagle is a coward, a scavenger, and a thief, and a symbol of more than 10 centuries of European mischief.
And the turkey.
A truly noble bird. A native of America, the source of sustenance for our settlers, and an incredibly brave fellow who would not flinch from attacking an entire regiment of Englishmen single-handedly. Therefore, the national bird for America is going to be
The eagle.
The eagle.
We're waiting for the chirp, chirp, chirp of an eaglet being born. Waiting for the chirp, chirp, chirp on this humid Monday morning in this congressional incubator.
God knows the temperature's hot enough to hatch a stone, let alone an egg.
We're waiting for the scratch, scratch, scratch of that tiny little fellow. Waiting for the egg to hatch on this humid Monday morning in this congressional incubator. God knows the temperature's hot enough to hatch a stone.
Will it hatch an egg?
Well, it's a triumph, I say a triumph. If I'm sure of anything, I'm sure of that, a triumph. And if it isn't, we still have 4 more days to think of something else. The eagle's going to crack the shell of the egg that England laid. Yes, so we can tell on this humid Monday morning in this congressional incubator.
And just as Tom here is returned, though the shell may belong to Great Britain, the eagle inside
levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
Very well. Thank you, Mr. Thompson. The Congress has heard the report of the Declaration Committee. Are there any who wish to offer amendments, deletions, or additions to the document? Gentlemen, please. McNair, you better open a window. Colonel McKeon, I saw your hand first.
Tom, it's a bonny paper you've written. Somewhere in it you mentioned Scottish and foreign mercenaries came to destroy. Scottish, Tom.
That has reference to a Highland regiment that stood against us at Boston.
They were probably Germans wearing kilts to disguise their beards. I ask you to remove the word and avoid giving offense to a good people.
Mr. Jefferson?
Reverend Witherspoon.
Mr. Jefferson, nowhere do you mention the Supreme Being. Surely this must have been an oversight. For how can we hope to achieve victory without his help? Therefore, I must humbly request the following addition to your final sentence. With a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence.
Mr. Reed.
As for your charges against the king, Mr. Jefferson, you accuse him of depriving us the benefits of trial by jury. This is untrue, sir. In Delaware, we've always had trial by jury.
In Massachusetts, we have not.
Oh. Well, then I suggest the words, in many cases, be added. Mr. Jefferson.
Brilliant. I suppose every time you see those three words, your puny little chest will swell up with pride over your
More memorable than your unprincipled whitewash of that race of barbarians.
Mr. Reed, Colonel McKeon, that is enough. Mr. Hopkins.
No objection, Johnny. I'm just trying to get a drink.
I should have known. McNair, get him a rum. Mr. Bartlett.
Mr. Jefferson, I beg you to remember we still have friends in England. I see no purpose to antagonize them with such phrases as I'm feeling brethren and enemies in war. Our quarrels with the British king, not the British people.
Be sensible, Bartlett. Remove those phrases and the entire paragraph is meaningless. And it so happens it's among the most stirring and poetic of any paragraph in the entire document.
We're a Congress, not a literary society. I ask that the entire paragraph be stricken.
Jefferson? Good God, Jefferson, aren't you ever going to speak up for your own work?
I hope the work would speak for itself.
Mr. Hancock. What is it, McNair?
I can't say that I'm very fond of the United States of America as a name for a new country.
I don't care what you're fond of, Mr. McNair. You are not a member of this Congress. Mr. Sherman.
Brother Jefferson, I noticed at least two direct and distinct references to the British Parliament in your declaration. Do you think it is wise to alienate that august body in light of our contention that they have never really had any authority over us anyway?
This is a revolution, damn it. We're going to have to offend somebody.
You have an attack of evidence.
Have you heard what they're doing to it?
Of course I've heard.
And those are just our friends. Imagine what'll happen when our enemies get to it.
The word Parliament will be removed.
They won't be happy until they remove one of the F's from Jefferson's name.
Won't last much longer.
Mr. Dickinson.
Mr. Jefferson, I have very little interest in your paper, as there is no doubt in my mind we've all but heard the last of it. But I am curious about one thing. Why do you refer to King George as a tyrant?
Because he is a tyrant.
I remind you, Mr. Jefferson, that this tyrant is still your king.
When a king becomes a tyrant, he thereby breaks the contract binding his subjects to him
How so?
by taking away their rights.
Rights that came from him in the first place.
All except one, the right to be free comes from nature.
Mr. Wilson, do we in Pennsylvania consider King George a tyrant?
Well, I don't know. Oh, no, we don't. He's not a tyrant in Pennsylvania.
There you are, Mr. Jefferson. Your declaration does not speak for us all. I demand the word tyrant be removed.
Just a moment, Mr. Thompson. I do not consent. The king is a tyrant whether we say so or not. We might as well say so.
But I've already scratched it out.
Then scratch it back in.
Put it back, Mr. Thompson. The king will remain a tyrant. Mr. Hughes.
Mr. Jefferson, nowhere do you mention deep-sea fishing rights.
We in North Carolina, deep sea fishing rights. Good God, how long is this business going to go on? We have sat here for 3 full days and have endured, at my count, 85 changes and the removal of nearly 400 words. Would you whip it and beat it until you break its spirit? I tell you, that document is a masterful expression of the American mind.
If there are no more changes, then I can assume the
Just a
report-
moment, Mr. President.
Easy, John.
I wonder if we could prevail upon Mr. Thompson to read again a small portion of Mr. Jefferson's declaration. The one beginning, he has waged cruel war.
Mr. Thompson?
He has affected, he has combined, he has abdicated, he has plundered, he has constrained, he has excited, he has incited, he has waged, here. He has waged cruel war against human nature itself in the persons of a distant people who never offended him, captivating and carrying them into slavery in another hemisphere. Determined to keep open a market where men should be bought and sold, he has prostituted...
That will suffice, Mr. Thompson. I thank you. Mr. Jefferson, I can't quite make out what it is you are talking about. Slavery, Mr. Rutledge. You're referring to us as slaves of the king. No, sir, I'm referring to our slaves, black slaves. Oh, black slaves. Well, why didn't you say so, sir? Were you trying to hide your meaning? No, sir. Just another literary license, then, if you like. Oh, I don't like it all, sir. In South Carolina, black slavery is our peculiar institution and cherished way of life. Nevertheless, we must abolish it. Nothing is more certainly written in the book of fate than that these people shall be free. I'm not interested with what's in the book of fate right now, sir. I'm more interested with what's written in that little paper there.
That little paper there deals with freedom for all Americans.
Oh, really? Mr. Adams is now calling all black slaves Americans. Are they now?
They are. They're people, and they're here. If there's any other requirement, I haven't heard of it.
Oh, they're here, yes. But they're not people, sir. They are property. No, sir, they are people being treated as property. I tell you, the rights of human nature are deeply wounded by this infamous practice. And see to your own wounds, Mr. Jefferson, for you are a practitioner, are you not? I've already resolved to release my slaves. And I am sorry, for you have also resolved in ruination of your own personal economy.
Economy. Always economy. There's more to this than a filthy purse string, Rutledge. It's an offense against man and God.
It's a stinking business, Mr. Rutledge. A stinking business.
Oh, really, Mr. Hopkins? Then what's that I smell floating down from the north? Could it be hypocrisy? For who holds the other end of those filthy purse strings, Mr. Adams? Our northern brethren are feeling a bit tender towards our slaves. They don't have slaves. Oh, no. But they're willing to be considerable carriers of slaves. For others, they are willing for the shilling. Or haven't you heard, Mr. Adams? Clink, clink. at the auction, gentlemen. White faces on African wharves. Put them in the ships. Cram them in the ships. Stop them in the ships. Hurry, gentlemen. Let the auction begin. Hee-haw! Hee-haw, Magunda! Gentlemen, can you hear? That's the cry of the auctioneer. Hee-haw! Hee-haw, Magunda! Slaves, gentlemen, black gold, living gold, gold from Angola, Guinea, 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 blackbirds for sale. Shout heave-o, 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 blackbirds for sale. Handle them, fondle them, but don't finger them. They're prime, they're prime. Hee-haw, hee-haw, Magunda.
For the love of God, Mr. Rutledge, please.
Molasses to rum to slaves who sell the ships back to Boston, laden in gold, seeing gleam, whose fortunes are made in the triangle trade. Hail slavery, that's New England's dream. Mr. Adams, I give you a toast. Hail Boston! Hail Charleston! Who stinketh the most?
Mr. Rutledge, Mr. Hughes, Dr. Hall.
Don't worry, see? We'll be back.
All right. Hold us down.
It's done! Alton Franklin! I have it! And the Maryland Assembly's approved it! Well, I told them about one of the greatest achievements in military history against the Flocka. Oh, what's wrong? I thought...
You'll have to forgive them, Mr. Chase. They've just suffered a slight setback. And after all, what is a man profited if he shall gain Maryland and lose the entire South? Matthew, chapter 16, verse 26.
McNair. I know, the flies. No. Well,
What are you all just sitting around about? We're wasting time, precious time, Thomas. I want you to ride down into Delaware and fetch back Caesar Rodney.
John, are you mad? You think he might as well horseback and he's a dying man.
No, he's a patriot.
John, what good will it do? The South's already done us in.
And what if they change their minds? Can we guarantee Delaware without Caesar Rodney?
God, what a bastardly bunch we are!
Stephen.
I'm going to the tavern, Johnny. If there's anything I can do for you there, let me know.
Chase, Bartlett.
what's the use, John? Tomorrow morning.
Hers lasted a full day left.
Roger.
Face facts, John. It's finished.
I'm sorry, John. It's over.
We have no other choice, John. Slavery clause has to go.
What are you saying, Frank?
It's a luxury we cannot afford.
Luxury. 500,000 souls in chains, and Dr. Franklin calls it a luxury. Perhaps you should have walked out to the South.
Forget yourself, sir. I founded the first anti-slavery society on this continent.
Oh, don't wave your credentials at me. Maybe it's time you ought to renew them.
The issue here is independence. You may have lost sight of that fact, but I have not. How dare you jeopardize our cause when we've come so far? These men, no matter how much we disagree with them, are not ribbon clerks to be ordered about. They're proud, accomplished men, the cream of their colonies, and whether you like it or not, they and the people they represent will be a part of this new country you'd hope to create. Either start learning to live with them or pack up and go home. But in any case, stop acting like a Boston fishwife.
Good God. What's happened to me? John Adams, the great John Adams. Wise man from the East. What have I come to? My law practice down the pipe, my farm mortgage to the hilt, at a time when most men prosper, I am reduced to living in Philadelphia. Oh, Abigail, Abigail, what am I to do?
Do, John?
I need your help.
You don't usually ask my advice.
I know. Well, there doesn't appear to be anyone else around right now.
Very well, John. What is it?
The entire South has just walked out of Congress. George Washington is on the verge of annihilation. And this precious cause for which I have labored these several years has come to nothing. And it seems I am obnoxious and disliked.
Nonsense, John.
That I am unwilling to face reality.
Foolishness, John.
That I am pig-headed.
Well, there you have me. You are pig-headed.
What kind of a life has it been for you, Abby? God knows I haven't given you much.
I never asked for more. After all, I'm Mrs. John Adams. That's quite a lot for one lifetime.
Is it, Abby?
Think of it, John. To be married to the man always first in line to be hanged.
Oh, yes, the agitator. What is it, Abigail? You must tell me. I've always been dissatisfied, I know that, but lately I seem to reek of discontentment. It fills my throat and floods my brain so that sometimes I feel there's no longer a dream, only the discontentment.
Oh, John, can you really know so little about yourself? And can you think so little of me that I would marry the man you just described? Have you forgotten what you used to say to me? I haven't. Commitment, Abby, commitment. There are only two creatures of value on the face of this earth. Those with a commitment and those that require the commitment of others. Do you remember, John?
I remember.
Mr. Adams!
What?
Mr. Adams, this is for you.
Wait a minute. What is it? What's in it? Who sent it? Abigail, what's in this keg?
Saltpeter, John.
Right there. Go out and buy every damn pen in Philadelphia.
And what sort of pen?
I don't know. Whatever ladies use when they're sewing. And take this keg and the rest of them to the armory. Hurry, man. Jefferson, Franklin, what are you just sitting around for?
John, didn't you just hear a word I said before?
Never mind that. Here's what you've got to do.
John, I'm not even speaking.
There's no time for that now, damn it. There's work to be done. Time's running out. Get up. Get out of your chair. Tomorrow is here. Too late to despair.
John, I'm still from Massachusetts. You know where I stand. I'll do whatever you say.
No. You're president of the Congress. You're a fair man, Hancock. Stay that way. Tell me, Mr. Thompson, out of curiosity, do you stand with Mr. Dickinson, or do you stand with me?
I stand with the general. Lately, I got the strangest feeling that you've been writing to me. I have been in expectation of receiving a reply on the subject of my last 15 dispatches. Is anybody there? Does anybody care? Does anybody care? You're humble and obedient.
Are you hungry, John?
No, thank you. I think I'll stay.
Good night.
Is anybody there? Does anybody care? Does anybody see what I see? They want me to quit. They say, John, give up the fight. Still to England I say, good night, forever good night. For I have crossed the Rubicon. Let the bridge be burned behind me. Come what may, come what may. Commitment, the brokers all say we'll rue the day. They'll be held to pay in fiery purgatory. All the gloom, I can see the rays of ravishing light and glory. Is anybody there? Does anybody care? Does anybody see what I see? I see fireworks. I see the pageant and pomp and parade. I hear the bells ringing out. I hear the cannons roar. I see Americans, all Americans, free forevermore. How quiet the chamber is. How silent the chamber is. Is anybody there? Does anybody care? Does anybody see what I see?
solve my dilemma, I remembered something I'd once read. That a representative owes to the people not only his industry, but his judgment. And he betrays them if he sacrifices it to their opinion. It was written by Edmund Burke, a member of the British Parliament.
Very well, gentlemen. The Congress will now vote on Virginia's resolution on independence. Thank you for coming, Caesar, and God bless you, sir. Secretary will call the roll, and I would remind you, gentlemen, a single nay vote will defeat the resolution. Mr. Thompson.
New Hampshire.
New Hampshire says yea.
New Hampshire says yea. Massachusetts.
Massachusetts says yea.
Massachusetts says yea. Rhode Island.
Rhode Island says yea.
Rhode Island says yea. Connecticut.
Connecticut says yea.
Connecticut says yea. New York.
Mr. Secretary, New York abstains. Courteously.
New York abstains.
Courteously.
New Jersey.
New Jersey says yea.
New Jersey says yea. Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania.
Mr. Secretary, Pennsylvania isn't ready. Come back to us later.
Pennsylvania passes. Delaware.
Delaware, by majority vote.
Aye, says yea.
Well done, sir.
Delaware says yea. Maryland.
Maryland says yea.
Maryland says yea. Virginia.
Virginia says yea.
Virginia says yea. North Carolina.
North Carolina yields. South Carolina.
South Carolina.
Well, Mr. Adams.
Well, Mr. Rutledge?
Mr. Adams, you must believe that I will do what I have promised to do.
What do you want, Rutledge?
Remove the offending passage from the Declaration.
If we do that, we will be guilty of what we ourselves are rebelling against.
Nevertheless, remove it, or South Carolina will bury now and forever your dream of independence.
John, I beg you to consider what you do.
Mark me, Franklin. If we give in on this issue, posterity will never forgive us.
It's probably true. You won't hear a thing, John, when you're long gone. Besides, what will posterity think we were? Demigods? We're men, no more, no less, trying to get a nation started against greater odds than a more generous God would have allowed. John, first things first, independence, America. If we don't secure that, what difference will the rest make?
Jefferson, say something.
What else is there to say?
Well, you wrote it, man.
I wrote all of it.
There you are, Rutledge. There's your slavery. And little good may it do. Now vote, damn you.
Mr. Secretary, the fair colony of South Carolina votes yea.
South Carolina says yea. North Carolina.
North Carolina says yea.
North Carolina says yea. Georgia.
Georgia says yea.
Georgia says yea.
been intact for all the difference it will make. Mr. President, Pennsylvania
Just a
says...
moment. I ask that the delegation be polled.
Dr. Franklin, don't be
A
absurd.
poll, Mr. President, is a proper request.
Yes, it is. Poll the delegation, Mr. Thompson.
Dr. Benjamin Franklin.
Yea?
Mr. John Dickinson.
Nay.
Mr. James Wilson. Judge Wilson.
There it is, Mr. Wilson. All up to you now. The whole issue of American independence rests squarely on your shoulders. A new nation waiting to be born or to die in birth, all on your say-so. Which will it be, Mr. Wilson? That maker of the world is waiting for your decision.
Come now, James. Nothing has changed. We mustn't let Dr. Franklin create one of his confusions. The question is clear.
Most questions are clear when someone else has to decide them.
It would be a pity to have handed down hundreds of wise decisions from the bench and be remembered only for the one unwise one you made in Congress.
James, you're keeping everybody waiting. The secretary has called for your vote.
Don't push me, John. I know what you want me to do. But Mr. Adams is correct about one thing. I'm the one who will be remembered for it.
What do you mean?
I'm not like you, John. I'm not like most of the men here. I don't want to be remembered. I just don't want the responsibility.
Yes, well, whether he wants it or not, James, there's no way of avoiding it.
Not necessarily. If I go with them, I'll only be one among dozens. No one will ever remember the name James Wilson. But if I vote with you, I'll be the man who prevented American independence. I'm sorry, John. I just didn't bargain for that.
And is that how new nations are formed, by a non-entity trying to preserve the anonymity he so richly deserves?
Mr. Dickens, of revolutions come to this world like bastard children. Half improvised and half compromised. Our side provided the compromise. Now, Judge Wilson is supplying the rest.
James?
I'm sorry, John. My vote is yay.
Pennsylvania says yea. Vote being 12 to none with one abstention, the resolution on independence is adopted.
It's done. It's done.
Now, Mr. Thompson, is the declaration ready to be signed?
It is.
Then I suggest we do so. The chair further proposes for our mutual security and protection that no man be allowed to sit in this Congress without attaching his name to it.
Mr. President, I cannot in good conscience sign such a document. I will never stop hoping for our eventual reconciliation with England. But because in my own way I regard America no less than does Mr. Adams, I will join the army and fight in her defense, even though I believe that fight to be hopeless. Goodbye, gentlemen.
Gentlemen of the Congress, I say ye, John Dickens.
Gentlemen, are there any objections to the declaration as it now stands?
I have one, Mr. President.
You, Mr. Adams.
Mr. Jefferson, the word is unalienable, not inalienable.
I'm sorry, Mr. Adams, but inalienable is correct.
I'm a graduate of Harvard, sir.
And I attended William and Mary, Mr. Adams.
Gentlemen, please. Mr. Jefferson, will you yield Mr. Adams' request?
No, sir, I will not.
Very well, I withdraw it. Oh, good. I'll talk to the printer later.
Gentlemen, we are about to brave the storm in a skiff made of paper. How it will end, God only knows.
That's a mighty big signature there, Johnny.
So Fat George in London can read it without his glasses. All right, step right up, gentlemen. Don't miss your chance to commit treason.
Well, Hancock's right. This paper is our passport to the gallows. There's no backing out. We don't hang together, we most assuredly shall hang separately.
In my case, it won't be so bad. One snap, and it'll be over like that. With Mr. Reed here will be dancing a jig log after us.
Gentlemen, please forgive me if I don't join in the merriment, but if we're arrested right now, my name is still the only one on the
From the Commander, Army of the United Colonies, Army of the United States, in New York. Dispatch number 1209 to the Honorable Congress, John Hancock, President, dear sir. I can now report with some certainty that the eve of battle in New York is near at hand. Toward this end, I have ordered the evacuation of Manhattan and directed our defenses to take up stronger positions on the Brooklyn Heights. At the present time, my forces consist entirely of Hazard's Delaware militia and Smallwood, Maryland, a total of 5,000 troops to stand against 25,000 of the enemy. And I begin to notice that many of them are lads under 15 and old men, none of whom could truly be called soldiers. One personal note to Mr. Lewis Morris of New York. I must regretfully report that his estates have been totally destroyed, but that I have taken the liberty of transporting Mrs. Morris and 8 of the children to Connecticut with safety. 4 older boys are now enlisted in the Continental Army. As I write these words, the enemy is plainly in sight beyond the river. How it will end, only Providence can direct. But dear God, what brave men I shall lose before this business ends. Your obedience. Washington.
Very well, gentlemen. McNair, go ring the bell.
Mr. President.
Yes, Mr. Morris.
To hell with New York, I'll sign it anyway.
Stephen, sit down, please.
No, Johnny. I want to remember each man's face as he signs.
Very well. Mr. Thompson.
New Hampshire, Dr. Josiah Bartlett. Massachusetts, Mr. John Adams. Rhode Island, Mr. Stephen Hopkins. Connecticut, Mr. Roger Sherman. New York, Mr. Lewis Morris. New Jersey, the Reverend Jonathan Witherspoon. Pennsylvania, Dr. Benjamin Franklin. Delaware, Mr. Caesar Rodney. Maryland, Mr. Samuel Chase.